Introducing Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Icon of the Seas, the ultimate family vacation. The ultimate 6 slides, 8 neighborhoods, 0 compromise vacation. The ultimate never done that, can't wait to do it vacation. The ultimate chillin' by a different pool every day of the week vacation. This is the Icon of Vacations. Icon of the Seas, arriving in 2024. Book today. Come seek the Royal Caribbean. Ships Registry, Bahamas.
This episode is brought to you by Pepsi Wild Cherry. Pepsi Wild Cherry is bursting with delicious cherry flavor and a sweet, crisp taste that gives you more to go wild for. Getting wild may look different these days, but whether it's opting for a solo Friday binge watch or a big night out, everyone can indulge in their wild side with Pepsi Wild Cherry. Also available in Zero Sugar. So grab a Pepsi Wild Cherry and get wild.
Leonard from the shotgun takes the snap. Quick look to the left. Tucks to run straight ahead, trying to break a tackle. He does! He's got a first down and more! 30, 20, Leonard! Touchdown! My goodness! And the Blue Devils have the lead!
Unbelievable! Unbelievable by number 13. Taking it over.
It's emergency podcast time, Duke fans, because we have an emergency on our hands. The Blue Devils have shocked the college football world, as you just heard that amazing call moments ago of Riley Leonard's huge touchdown. The touchdown heard round the ACC, heard round all of college football. The Blue Devils have defeated the Clemson Tigers the first time in, I don't know, I should know this, first time in 15 years, no, like 20, 18 years. Donald, how long has it been?
Jason, the last time we beat Clemson was on a Matty Brooks field goal in 2004.
That was the date.
At Wallace Wade. But Jason, it gets even better. This is the first time we've beaten a top 10 team since 1989. You know which team that was?
It was Clemson.
And that was under Steve Spurrier. It's the first time since 1936 that we've beaten Clemson by more than 10 points. And is the first time in the history of Duke football that we have beaten a top 25 team to open up the season. This is where we're at on Labor Day night at 11:30 p.m. on the East Coast.
I love it. Sam Klein is also here with us. Sam, you got what do you got, man?
I have so many things. First of all, happy birthday to my sister. She turns 31 today. She was not around the last time Duke beat a top 10 Clemson team. I was around. I was 6 months old or so, roughly when that happened. I haven't been on, guys, yet to talk about all the realignment stuff going on. We haven't done an episode.
We haven't done it either. We haven't done the whole. Yeah. We'll get to it in the next couple days. We'll get to it.
We haven't done that yet, but I just want to say that if it turns out that Clemson's bid to go to the SEC gets denied because of this game, I could not, just pour one out for poor Dabo Swinney. Just, you hate to see a guy like that lose a game. Excuse me. Pardon me. I'm sorry. I must have gotten something stuck in my brain there for a second. Wow.
But also you have the fact that, again, we'll get about realignment, but Clemson is one of a few schools that have been talking about this merit-based program of revenue sharing. You know where the merit's going tonight? It's going to probably replace the goalposts.
Going to Durham. The merit's going to Durham, baby.
not to the apparently top 10 team that managed to score 7 points against an unranked opponent in week 1 with the whole offseason to prepare for it. I mean, what gutty performance by Duke, where look, and you'll if you watch the highlights from this game, if you look at the stats, if you read the commentary after the game, we're recording so soon that there's no quotes yet. We haven't gotten a Mike Elko press conference yet. You will not hear Mike Elko tell you that Duke played perfectly this game. Duke let Clemson drive deep into Duke territory multiple times. Duke committed multiple stupid mistakes that they were not committing last year at all. And yet Clemson managed to out-stupid Duke, which is normally the case in the classroom, but was especially true on the football field tonight.
Well, there are a couple of things I want to say related to that. First of all, the first half was like an abomination. Duke completely outplayed Clemson first half. somehow managed to be behind 7-6 because when we got inside the 20, when we got inside the 5, we couldn't knock it in because we made turnovers and in really inopportune moments because we were committing offsides penalties, procedure penalties that is just so characteristic of a Mike Elko team. And I will tell you, I know a lot of Duke fans who probably felt similarly to me, which was, hey, great that we're in it at halftime, but this feels like one of those games that Duke football usually loses. Oh, we were close. We held it close for a while, but we just kept on making mistakes. And when we make mistakes and the other team doesn't make mistakes, we don't win those games. That's the history of Duke football. Guys, Sam, you're talking about your age. I'm older than you, considerably older than you. I'm 56. I've been watching Duke football for 4+ decades now, and that has been the story. You know what? That was not the story tonight, and that's the incredible part of this game. Part of it was Clemson screwing up. But part of it was Duke showing resilience, Duke showing fire, Duke being in the right place at the right time, and this team taking an attitude from its head coach, which is, we don't care about the past. We are the future.
It's not even the future. They're the now. We talked about this, Jason, a couple of days ago, where they said this team has been so confident in saying, hey, we don't care who we're facing. We feel like we can beat them. And the fact that, again, we talked about how, having months of preparation, this being the very first game on a Labor Day night, on ESPN, everyone who was watching college football all weekend had one football game to watch, and it was this one. They knew that they needed to be ready. And Mike Elko said before the game on the broadcast that he needed to, he wanted this team to come out with a week 4 mentality. Like, hey, where the stupid mistakes. And like you guys said, we had stupid mistakes. Riley Leonard didn't play his best game that we have seen him play in a Duke uniform. He, at least from in the air, on the ground was a different story. Of course, you heard the call at the beginning of the broadcast of our show. But I think what pulled it together is hats off to our defense. Our defense, every single time it felt like in the second half, Clemson got into the into the red zone, we made a big play. And man, some of those plays were absolutely enormous. And it's funny, people, the neutrals are talking about that targeting penalty, which might have in a way that
was a crazy play.
It's a crazy play. It's going to be redefined. Like they're going to have to. That's probably going to be something that towards the end of the season they're going to establish how the targeting penalty is enforced. But that stops a drive that, hey, in your mind you're thinking, oh, if they get that first down 15 yards, they're going to score, and then it's a closer ball game. And instead, we score on the ensuing possession, and it's ball game on the other end. Incredible.
And to reiterate, Donald, could not have happened to a nicer guy than Dabo Swinney. That kind of officiating, rule book nonsense. Just what a damn shit. The other thing, Donald, is that Duke's defense. You talked about how Riley Leonard he had a couple highlights from this game. The big touchdown run, probably the biggest highlight for Duke in this one. But
I mean, wait, hey, Sam, that touchdown run. That's top 5 plays of the entire weekend, the opening weekend of college football. Easily one of the top 5 plays. He was down in the backfield. I mean, like, that was incredible.
And then stiff armed the guy going into the end zone. And yet, I actually think that you could argue it was like the 3rd or 4th most important play for Duke tonight. Blocking field goals, forcing fumbles, getting the interception there right at the end to ice this game. There are so many. Well,
the scoop and return was. That's
right.
By the way, guys, if I can, really quick, have you guys looked at? You probably haven't. ESPN has their little game flow thing, the chart of how on that scoop and return. Prior to that, Clemson was like a 65% favorite to win the game. Literally, that one play flipped it from Clemson 65 to Duke almost 80%. It literally goes from Clemson has, 65% chance to win. ESPN says, oh no, this one play happened. Now we think Duke has almost an 80% chance to win. It was unbelievable.
Very quickly, Sam, you were talking about Dabo Swinney and how this couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. Did you guys see what happened before the game? Or what we did before the game? So Dabo Swinney, I guess, was talking to the media about how, the visiting locker room is so far away from the field at Wallace Wade Stadium, and that he's like, I hate that we have to run all this way just to get onto the field. So what Duke did was put a bunch of like inflatable playhouses and like inflatable like dolls, like the big Duke Devils and stuff in the path of where they had to run, just so he understood that they were entering a fun house. And if they can't have fun with running an extra 100 yards, then they're not going to have fun once they get to the field either. And man, when you do something like that, I'm glad you back it up like that. Like the team performance, they were ready for this game. The students, shout out to the Wade Wackos, as we call them, in Wallace Wade. They showed up. The team showed up. The fans showed up. Man, just an electric night for Duke football.
Guys, we have to take a really quick break. When we come back, more on one of the biggest wins in Duke football history. We will have that after the break. We're back, and oh man, where else can we go on this? I'll get us started on one topic. Biggest win since. I would say this may have been Duke's biggest game, Duke's biggest individual game since the Peach Bowl about a decade ago or so against Texas A&M. I was at that game. That was like the most fun I've ever had at a Duke football game, even though we ended up losing the game. But I don't know. What do you think? Biggest wins, Donald, do you have a biggest win since what?
I'm going to go more recent. I'm going to go with that UNC win over in 2012, the one at Wallace Wade, that not only, gave us the bell for the first time in God knows how long, but it also sent us to the postseason for the first time and God knows how long. Just that Jameson Crowder, catching it and just falling into
unbelievable.
I mean, this game feels bigger than that, but like when you go back to like the pivotal games and in Duke's recent football history, you got to go back to that 2012 game.
And really, like, there's an element of like that UNC game, the Peach Bowl game, the other UNC game, the UNC game from the 2013 season when Duke clinched the Coastal Division, RIP the Coastal Division. But like all of those are sort of are fun and exciting and encapsulating. If Duke ends up, I don't know, we're not calling them divisions anymore. So I guess if Duke ends up back in the ACC championship game as a result, and I'm getting way ahead of myself here, but if Duke ends up back in the ACC championship game as a result of this game being like the springboard to that, this game will have become more important than either of those Carolina games or that Peach Bowl game, because this was Duke every college football dynasty, goes through it's in all sports. All these dynasties come to an end at some point. Clemson does not have a birthright to being a top 10 college football program. Look across the arc of history. Yes, Clemson has been good a lot more than Duke has. No one's denying that. But Clemson has not always been the top of the pops in college football. I've talked before about how Clemson could not have gotten luckier with when they timed, in terms of the conference realignment and the NIL and all this kind of stuff. Clemson could not have timed this rise to power any better if in the end they do end up in the SEC or they do end up in the college football Super League. But if I'm not trying to exaggerate here when I am, making a little light of it, but there is a world where this begins the downfall of the Dabo Swinney era at Clemson.
Yeah.
And you don't know, the one that I think, unfortunately, Donald, that people like to bring up is like Michigan losing to Appalachian State. There are examples of this all over college sports. Duke beating Clemson to open the season in a weekend when Clemson was ranked in the top 10 might be the beginning of the end of of Clemson's reign atop the ACC and near the top of college football. And if this is what prevents Clemson from bolting from the ACC, the same week that Clemson voted against the expansion that is going to bring all kinds of schools that have never seen the Atlantic Coast to the Atlantic Coast Conference. I just think the poetry
irony. It's irony,
would be too much for me, a man of limited sort of artistic creativity on my own. I can't even fathom a thing like that.
So let me comment on the biggest win since thing, because I think to some extent we may not be able to track this because there's a difference in this game and all those other games. Those UNC games we talked about that made Duke bowl eligible and helped Duke to win a conference title. Those were not played as the only game on television on a national network. There's no other football. And by the way, football starved America.
Which is not to excuse anyone for scheduling this game at 8 p.m. on a Monday.
No,
which is an insane time to have a game. But continue.
Yes, but football crazed America. We've had opening weekend, people who are still jazzed about the return of football. This was the only game they could watch. The game just ended 20 minutes ago. We don't know what the ratings are yet, but I guarantee you this is going to be the highest rated Duke football game, certainly since they were in the conference championship game. It's possible this is going to be the highest rated Duke football game, in our lifetimes, which I guess would be ever. I mean, it'll probably go up against.
No, it'll be the ACC championship game. That's going to be it, or one of the bowl games,
or that the game, the season kickoff we had against Alabama, where all three of us were at the game in the press box. I mean, that probably also got huge ratings.
The A&M, the Peach
But
Bowl,
everybody turned off that Alabama game, right? If you were watching that Alabama game on TV, you didn't keep it on because they beat the pants off of us. Which is
but we kept it close for a quarter.
The A&M game where we played Johnny Manziel, and basically again we're going toe to toe for them for the entire game until like the last 2 minutes. That was probably a comparable ratings. But again, for me, it's not even about the ratings.
Guys, the field at Wallace Wade Stadium is full of people right now.
Full of people.
Full of people.
I will tell you guys.
I didn't even know that the stadium held enough people to fill the field.
I will tell you guys, it reminded me of the first win that I saw at Duke. It was unfortunately the first game of my junior year. I went freshman and sophomore year without seeing a football win. And as you both know, and some of you guys out there, I worked for the football team in the video department. So when that game happened and it was ECU, we finally are about to win and we start jumping down onto the field and no one knows what to do because it's been 2 years since we've had a victory. And literally people rush the field and they're like, what do we start with the goalpost? Do we go to the middle? So again, shout out the students that were there because they clearly knew what to do. They had a plan. They knew not to run onto the field immediately. They kind of lined the end zone with students until the final whistle. They had all those things down, those little things that, again, when I was a student, we had our first game, a big game like this where you open up the season with a win. We didn't know how to handle it. And these kids clearly know how to handle it because this Mike Elko era has been phenomenal thus far. And again, every time I think that the one thing that I hope for from this game, no matter how big this game is over the course of the season, because again, we have, a whole season to go. I hope tomorrow, I know tonight people are talking about the downfall of Clemson. I hope tomorrow they talk about the rise of Duke football under Mike Elko and talk about how good they played and how we deserved to beat Clemson tonight. I think that is the real story. It's not going to be written tonight, but I hope it is written at least over the coming days where people kind of look back and go, hey, Clemson may not have lost this game. Duke might have just went and took it from them.
I love it. Hey, guys, before we go, out a few players. We've already talked about Riley Leonard's incredible run. I thought he did, even though his passing statistics were not that stellar, 175 yards on 17 of 33 passes. Despite that, I thought he was doing the best he could because Clemson was in his face, in his grill constantly. He took a pounding that Clemson, I said in our preview, Donald, you'll remember this. Clemson's got one of the best defensive lines in all of college football. They were in the Duke backfield this whole game. I thought Riley Leonard kept his composure. His ability to know when to throw the ball away, that is a big deal. That is the way you keep your team marching down the field, is not making those kind of mistakes. I thought Riley Leonard did an incredible job at that. I wanted to mention our running backs, Jordan Waters and Jaquez Moore, both averaged more than 5 yards per carry. I thought those guys were ripping off a number of really, really nice plays. And Jordan Waters had that long TD that was basically that sealed it all up. It was all done after that. And on defense, the Duke defense, we cannot overstate how well they played in this game. They were incredibly aggressive. They were hitting hard. I mean, hard against a Clemson team. I mean, Will Shipley and who's that other Maffa, whatever that dude was.
Yeah.
Maffa, man, that dude, that's a big boy. I wouldn't want to tackle him. And the Duke defense they were running around like banshees. I thought they were great. And lastly, we didn't mention his name yet. Jalen Stinson. He's the guy who scooped up and ran it back for 60 yards or so. He got caught by the quarterback. I'm sure that the Duke Kangaroo Court's going to be a little bit like, you were out in the clear, man. You could have run it back for a TD and you got caught by the quarterback. So he may get a little something for that. But Jalen Stinson, just a huge, massive, unbelievable fumble recovery. So, hat tip to him. These guys, just an incredible game.
When they look at this play in film and they recap some of the highlights and stuff, yeah, his team's gonna give him a little ribbing, but how he got caught by the quarterback. But the great thing is they're gonna be ribbing him after an incredible play. That again was
after Duke
one of the most pivotal plays, if not the most pivotal play of the game.
28-7. Duke won 28-7. Like going away.
Hey, the only time Clemson scored is when we muffed a punt on our own 18-yard line. That is the only time that Clemson scored in this ball game.
It'd be a shame if the bus just left Dabo and he had to take that long walk. He just hates taking a walk.
Well, he likes running.
He likes to run. He really hates to walk, though.
Yeah.
It's just such a. So I can't do this. I can't do this seriously late at night with the realignment stuff going on and Duke upsetting, the top 10 Clemson and Durham. And that's absurd. You can't ask me to do analysis right now. What complete and utter madness world is this?
I love it.
I'm so sorry.
This is great.
Well, with that, we're going to sign off here on emergency edition of the DBR podcast.
Shout out to the best equipment room in all of college football. That's Duke football. Those are my
Amen,
guys.
brother. I love it. We will be back very soon. The next couple of days, we got to talk conference realignment. I'm sure there'll be some basketball news. We got to preview what's coming up for this football team.
Duke's got to refocus and beat Lafayette this week.
Yeah, Lafayette.
Trap game.
Who knew?
Duke did a good job of not looking ahead to Lafayette, but now they gotta get some sleep tonight and focus. I don't know if Shooters is open on Mondays. Hopefully it's not, so these kids can go to bed. And
I'm sure someone's running to Shooters to unlock the doors.
Porter Wilson, Duke's punter, Porter Wilson had an incredible game. 5 punts for over 50 yards per punt. I'm predicting against Lafayette, Porter Wilson does not get on the field more than maybe once.
I predict that someone will buy Porter Wilson a few Bud Light seltzers at Shooters on Saturday night. That's my guess.
I like it, Sam. All right. For Sam, for Donald, I'm Jason. This has been the latest edition, the emergency edition of the DBR podcast. Oh, Clemson, go home. The Blue Devils have arrived. Duke Band, play us out. Take us home to Wally Wade. What?
I said, good night, Dabo.
Good night, Dabo.
Let's go. How about that?
Dude.
Oh, man.